So what exactly does the Pope do all day? Pope Leo XIV, our new Pope, has been all over the news recently, and we all know he's the leader of the Catholic Church. He's the vicar of Christ on earth, and he's a figure of global significance. But you might be wondering what exactly his day-to-day schedule actually looks like. And honestly, I was kind of curious too, so I did some research and here's what I found. Hey guys, I'm Father David Michael Moses. I'm a Catholic priest, and if you appreciate the types of content, please make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. So we're just a few days in, so we don't know exactly what Pope Leo XIV's daily papal schedule is going to be. I'm sure he's still getting settled, figuring out his lay of the land, but we have a pretty good idea of what it might look like from previous popes. So let's take a look. The Pope generally wakes up between 4:30 and 5 a.m. and starts his day with prayer, as we would hope a Pope would. Bishop Barron talks about getting the fire going in the morning with your prayer. Like if you're out camping, the first thing you do is you get a fire going, because without that, everything else is gonna fall apart. In the same way through prayer, we wanna start off by getting the fire going in our hearts to make sure everything is headed in the right direction. Pope Francis actually started out with 2 holy hours. He prayed from 5 to 7 a.m. every morning. During that time, I'm sure popes pray their breviary, which is a special set of prayers that every priest promises to pray. We pray 5 times a day, and it mainly consists of the Psalms. Some of the Psalms are really joyful and excited. Some of the Psalms are kind of lamenting the difficulty of human life. Regardless, that Psalm is putting you in union with Christians throughout the world who are either rejoicing or lamenting. Regardless of how you feel that day, you're in union with all those people around the world, which is actually very, very beautiful. Pope Francis also spent that time preparing his homily, because he had a mass every day for a small group of people, so he would prepare his homily during that time. I relate with that a ton. This morning in my holy hour, I was working on my homily for this weekend, asking the Lord what he wanted me to tell the people. After that, popes generally go straight into Mass. For Pope Francis, he did Mass at the Casa Santa Marta, usually with small groups of different people. When John Paul II said Mass, people said it was just super, super, super prayerful. So I'm assuming that Pope Leo will also do Mass at this time as well. Priests actually don't have to say Mass every single day. It's not required by canon law, but most do. I'm blessed to say I've said Mass every single day as a priest. It is our daily bread, as Jesus talks about in the Our Father. So it is the source and summit of our faith in the Eucharist. It's the high point of every single day, and I don't want to live without it. So after Mass, popes are human too, so they need to eat. So they often go into breakfast. For Pope Francis, he would have some light toast, some tea. He had an Argentinian jelly that he especially liked. Pope Benedict, his predecessor, was German, so he really liked these specific kind of German rolls that they used to have. After breakfast, he goes into meetings. So the Catholic Church has 1 billion members, and there's a lot of things to take care of. So at that point, he's often going to be working on internal policies, making decisions about different things that need to happen, probably looking at selecting bishops, maybe appointing cardinals, that kind of stuff. Especially interesting because prior to him being Pope, he was the head of the dicastery of bishops. So it'd be kind of interesting to see how he approaches that now that he's the vicar of Christ. There's lots of different Vatican departments, they call them. There's one for evangelization, there's one for communication, there's one for the doctrine of the faith. Like I said, there's one for bishops and many others. There's like 16 different departments in the Vatican that each have their own head and different personnel working within them. But the Pope, of course, oversees all of those. So it'd be interesting to kind of see what he wants to do with those different dicasteries moving forward. In these times, he's probably also thinking about encyclicals, which are basically apostolic exhortations that the Pope puts out on various different topics. You know, he said he picked the name Leo the 14th in large part because of Pope Leo XIII, who was known for a lot of his very famous encyclicals, the most famous being Rerum Novarum, which really set the scene for Catholic social justice. So be curious to see if Pope Leo XIV has some encyclicals in mind on different topics, things that he wants to put out as statements to guide the Catholic faithful. Pope Leo XIII, as we've talked about on this channel, was also kind of known as the Pope of the Rosary because he put out, it was something like 11 encyclicals on the Rosary specifically. So I'll be curious to see if that Marian devotion kind of makes its way into some of the Pope's encyclicals as well. After that, the Pope then goes and has lunch. Pope Francis did his lunch in many cases with different different staff, that kind of stuff. You kind of get a 2-for-1 deal if it's sort of a working meeting, that you're able to talk to clergy or things like that during lunchtime. And then after lunch, the popes often take a bit of a siesta, take kind of a nap or some kind of rest. Pope Francis would take a 40-minute nap after lunch every day. So that's some pretty good time to snooze and reset a little bit. For me, a 40-minute nap is you are in another dimension by the time you wake up. 15-20 minutes, I feel rested. After 40 minutes, I kind of just want to go to bed, I feel like. But it worked for Pope Francis. After the little bit of a siesta, different things can happen in the afternoon. On Wednesdays every week, the Pope holds an audience. They call them the Wednesday audiences. And people can get tickets. The tickets are free, but they are very limited. Security is very, very high. It is a private thing. But in this time, there's different people who he meets with, maybe world leaders, diplomats, that kind of stuff. If you ever see somebody, post a picture with the Pope, greeting them, in most cases, it's going to be in this context. In one of the Wednesday audiences, they knew somebody and were able to get in and receive that honor. Obviously, lots of people want to meet with the Pope, presidents, all kinds of different leaders. So this is a great context in which to do that. In the afternoon, the Pope often has to be reviewing documents as well. I'm sure there's just tons of things that he has to vet, especially if he's going to be putting his name on things that he has to review to make sure it's in line with what needs to be happening, that kind of stuff. Pope Francis was really involved in outreach, particularly. He would visit places like the prisons, parishes, those kind of things. John Paul II is known for famously going and visiting in prison the man who actually shot him, who tried to kill him. So this is a time where popes can go out into the community, meet with different people, that kind of stuff. Then, of course, there's going to be dinner in the evening. And then often the popes will take some time to read before bed. So they want to keep their intellectual life alive, I'm sure, do some spiritual reading, focus on different things, kind of keep that going. Pope Francis, I thought it was interesting when I was researching for this video. He didn't watch any TV. He made a promise while he was bishop to the Virgin Mary. He told her, TV is not going to be for me. I'm not going to watch any television for the rest of my life, is what he promised. And it sounds like he stuck to that. So, of course, this is more the daily schedule at the Vatican. Popes have to travel, right? So some of the popes, a lot of their time is going to be spent on a plane or going all over, giving addresses to various people, humanitarian efforts, that kind of stuff. So that schedule, I'm sure, throws things off a little bit. One thing I'm personally a bit curious about is that the Pope, of course, is also the Bishop of Rome, right? Rome doesn't have another head bishop. So he has things he needs to take care of within the Diocese of Rome. I'm sure he has people helping with that kind of stuff, but he has seminarians, right? He needs to think about vocations in the Diocese of Rome. So he has a lot of local managerial things to take care of in addition to caring for the entire church. At the end of the day, to have a pope, to me, just makes all the sense in the world. Any organization you take seriously, whether it's a company, whether it's a country, whatever it might be, there's somebody who's kind of at the top of that hierarchy who can help steer this shit. And so to me, it makes complete sense that when Jesus knew he was going to ascend into heaven, leave earth, that he left behind a structure for us, and he left behind a figurehead, left behind a leader to guide us, to pilot this ship. I absolutely love the fact that we have a pope. It also, I think, gives us a closeness. The word pope literally comes from the word papa, which means father. And I just love the fact that we have a spiritual father, that we're not alone in the world. So let me know what you guys think. If you have more information on any of this stuff, for sure let me know. I'd be curious to learn myself. Make sure you subscribe, and we will see you guys in the next one. God bless.